The Alexandria Police Department needs your help finding a missing teenager. Jasmine Block was last seen at her home on Tuesday around 10:30.
Family and friends of a missing teenager in Alexandria spent the day looking for her.
Investigators said she has cognitive disabilities, which made her personal safety and welfare a concern.
It is a story of unbelievable horror.
Jasmine Block was born in 2002. When she was young, she faced significant loss with the deaths of her father and sister in quick succession. Seeking a new beginning, her mother, Sarah, moved to Alexandria, Minnesota, taking Jasmine and her two older sisters, Paige and Abigail, with her. Sarah was drawn to the peaceful environment and low crime rate in Alexandria, believing it was the perfect place to raise her daughters. Jasmine grew up to be lively and enjoyed spending time with her friends. She loved being outdoors, especially biking, and had a strong passion for the arts and music. Jasmine shared many traits with other kids her age, but she had a special challenge. She was cognitively impaired. Because of this, Sarah and her daughters were particularly attentive to their youngest sister, always ready to help her out. In the summer of 2017, Jasmine was excited to start high school. To make the most of her summer, she spent every day with her best friend, John Barker, whom she had known since childhood. John's father, Thomas Barker, was a good friend of Jasmine's mother. On August 8, 2017, Jasmine and John went out for another bike ride, a fun routine they had enjoyed all summer. That evening, Jasmine experienced a bad migraine, which she had been dealing with for a while. Feeling ill, she decided to take a warm shower and then relax on the couch for the night. Around 10:30 p.m., while Sarah was taking care of Jasmine, she got a call from a friend who needed urgent help. With her daughter Paige and fiancé Eric at home, Sarah felt assured that Jasmine would be fine. Since her friend lived nearby, she knew she could return quickly. Sarah told Jasmine she'd be back in an hour before leaving. Sarah returned home around 11:30 p.m., expecting to find Jasmine still on the couch. To her surprise, though, Jasmine was nowhere to be found. She went to Paige and Eric's room to check if they had seen Jasmine, but since they had been asleep for the past hour or so, they hadn't noticed her leaving. Paige and Eric suggested that Jasmine might have gone to a friend's house. The fact that her shoes were missing made this explanation seem plausible. However, Sarah found this theory hard to accept. Jasmine hadn't been feeling well, making it unlikely she would leave the house so late. On top of that, both her phone and bike were still at home. Additionally, Sarah knew her youngest daughter was afraid of the dark and would never go out without leaving a note. As a mom, I was in panic mode. I knew that Jasmine would not run away. She was scared of the dark, so I knew that someone took her. Not wanting to take any chances, Sarah contacted the Alexandria Police Department to report her daughter missing. Within minutes, an officer arrived at their home and took statements from the family. Sarah stressed that Jasmine was not the type to run away. She firmly believed that her daughter wouldn't have left the house unless something or someone had compelled her to. Sarah also emphasized that Jasmine was a cautious young woman with many fears, making it highly unlikely that she would have left on her own. The officer and Sarah then visited the homes of all of Jasmine's friends who lived within walking distance. Since her bike was still at home, it was likely that Jasmine would have gone to a nearby house if she had gone out. Unfortunately, none of Jasmine's friends had seen her that night. Before the officer left, he reassured Sarah that they would issue a be-on-the-lookout alert for Jasmine and informed her that detectives would be assigned to handle the case. The following morning, August 9, 2017, detectives arrived at Sarah's home as promised to begin their investigation. They initially focused on Jasmine's phone, hoping that its contents might offer clues about her whereabouts. Investigators soon discovered that Jasmine had been on a video call the previous night with someone named Andrew. When questioned about him, Jasmine's family explained that he was an online friend she had never met in person. At this point, the detectives began to explore the possibility that Andrew might have been catfishing to lure Jasmine out that night. The FBI soon joined the investigation, bringing additional resources and manpower. They discovered that Andrew lived in Pine River, Minnesota, approximately 100 miles from Jasmine's home. With the consent of Andrew's guardians, authorities conducted an interview with him to determine if he was involved in Jasmine's disappearance. After the interview, the officers confirmed that Andrew was indeed who Jasmine believed him to be and had no connection to her case. Andrew also stated that Jasmine ended their video call while still on the couch at home. Furthermore, she didn't mention anything about leaving the house. Sarah later informed the authorities that she had dated a man several months prior, but the relationship ended poorly. Shortly after their breakup, the man made threatening remarks to Sarah about her 3 daughters. Acting on this tip, officers located Sarah's ex-partner in Starbuck, Minnesota, approximately 25 miles from Alexandria. During the interrogation, the man claimed he was at home with several people on the night of August 8th. After interviewing the individuals who were with him, investigators confirmed his alibi and cleared him as a suspect. As the days went by, the detectives and Jasmine's loved ones remained baffled by her sudden disappearance, with no clues to explain how she had vanished. A week into Jasmine's disappearance, media coverage of her case began to wane. However, Sarah was determined not to let her daughter's case be forgotten. Taking matters into her own hands, she started distributing and posting missing person flyers throughout the city. Moreover, she transformed her home into the central hub for Jasmine's search efforts, encouraging anyone with information to come forward. Sarah also utilized social media to amplify the search for her daughter and reached out to numerous news outlets to keep the case in the public eye. Unbeknownst to her loved ones, Jasmine was actually not far from home. At around 11 p.m. on the night she disappeared, Jasmine was on a video call with Andrew when she heard a car pull up in the front yard, followed by a knock on the door. After ending her call, Jasmine answered the door. To her surprise, it was Thomas Barker, the father of her best friend. With a worried expression, Barker explained that John was having a breakdown. This was something that had happened multiple times before. As John's closest friend, Jasmine was the only one who could usually help him during these episodes. And so, Barker urgently asked Jasmine to come with him to assist his son. Eager to help her friend, Jasmine didn't hesitate to go with him. Before leaving, she attempted to inform Paige about her departure. However, her knocks on her sister's door went unanswered, as Paige and her fiancé were already asleep. Jasmine then picked up her phone, but saw that it was down to just 1% battery. Realizing it would be of no use, she decided to leave it and got into Barker's car. Barker's mobile home was located in the nearby town of Carlos. It was only about 16 miles from Jasmine's home. During the car ride, Barker promised Jasmine that he was going to drive her home as soon as John was okay. When they arrived at Barker's trailer, he told Jasmine that John was inside. However, as Jasmine entered, an unsettling silence greeted her. It quickly became clear that no one was there. Before she could react, Barker shut the front door and pulled out a gun, threatening her against doing anything foolish. He then ordered her into his bedroom, where he proceeded to bind her hands and feet with zip ties. Overcome with fear, Jasmine now found herself at the mercy of a man she had known and trusted for years. With Jasmine completely defenseless, Barker went on to take advantage of her multiple times throughout the course of the night. Once he was done, Barker revealed to Jasmine what prompted him to do such a horrific act. Just 3 days earlier, during one of Jasmine and John's biking sessions, she had an accident where she fell and the handlebars struck her ribcage. She then lifted her shirt to show John the bruises she had sustained. Unbeknownst to them, Barker had been watching from a distance. Jasmine's innocent gesture of showing a part of her torso to John inexplicably excited Barker, setting him on a path to target her for his heinous act. Barker then brought Jasmine into the closet in his bedroom. He had set it up with a TV, pillows, and a blanket. He also provided her with some movies to pass the time, all the while warning her not to make noise or try to escape. In the early hours of August 9th, 2017, Barker woke Jasmine and ordered her to follow him to the bathroom. Once there, he removed most of her clothing and restrained her hands and feet with zip ties. He then forced her to kneel beside the filled bathtub and began to push her head underwater in an attempt to drown her. Driven by a will to survive, Jasmine fought back fiercely. She managed to keep lifting her head every time Barker pushed it down. Exhausted from his failed attempts, Barker eventually abandoned his effort to subdue Jasmine and told her to get back in the closet. While Jasmine was relieved, she knew it was only a matter of time before Barker attempted to kill her again. 3 days into her captivity, Barker ordered Jasmine to climb into a duffel bag. Desperate, Jasmine complied and Barker zipped up the bag. He then began filling the bathtub, planning to drown her again. As Barker waited for the tub to fill, Jasmine bit a hole in the bag and used her fingers to enlarge it, escaping from inside. Infuriated, Barker slapped her across the face. With another failed attempt, Barker resorted to drinking alcohol and forced Jasmine to drink as well, getting both of them drunk. Just then, Barker's roommate, Joshua Holby, arrived. Although the two were close friends, Barker's aggressive demeanor towards Holby made him fearful. Barker instructed Holby to force-feed Jasmine illicit substances, which he reluctantly did. Over the next several days, Barker continued to violate Jasmine, while Holby remained on guard. Around 2 weeks into Jasmine's captivity, Barker and Holby's friend, Stephen Powers, visited the trailer. Before letting him in, they forced Jasmine back into the closet, warning her to stay silent. After several hours of drinking and using illicit substances, Barker and Holby decided to leave the house. Before stepping out, they instructed Powers not to enter Barker's bedroom, an order that only piqued his curiosity. Once they were gone, Powers entered the bedroom and opened the closet, discovering Jasmine there. Unfortunately, he was not about to become her hero. Instead of helping her, dark impulses took over, and he went on to attack her. A few days later, Barker decided to make a third attempt at killing Jasmine, this time enlisting both Holby and Powers to help. Confident that, with their assistance, he could finally finish the job, they set their plan in motion. Powers stuffed a cloth into Jasmine's mouth, securing it with duct tape, while Holby tied her hands and feet. Meanwhile, Barker filled the bathtub with water, preparing for another drowning attempt. As they held her underwater, Jasmine could feel blood seeping from her eyes, nose, and mouth. Jasmine fought fiercely for her life, resisting 3 men who attempted to drown her. Each time, her will to survive prevailed, frustrating her captors as they failed to end her life. In late August 2017, they forced her to lie on a couch with a pillow over her face and attempted to suffocate her by pressing down on it. But Jasmine managed to twist and kick her way to small pockets of air. Infuriated by her resilience, they shifted tactics. In their 5th attempt, they tied a noose around her neck and forced her to stand on a stack of buckets. However, Barker hesitated and ordered them to cut her down, unable to bring himself to kill his son's best friend. On September 4th, 2017, a police officer knocked on Barker's mobile home door while investigating an unrelated theft. This visit scared the kidnappers, prompting them to relocate Jasmine. After the officer left, they stuffed her into a duffel bag and transported her to an abandoned house in Grant County. By September 5th, what should have been Jasmine's first day of high school turned into her 29th day of captivity. With each passing day, hope for her safe return dwindled. But that day, her captors left to gather supplies, convinced she wouldn't dare escape. Jasmine took this opportunity. After waiting a few minutes to ensure they were gone, she bolted towards the nearest houses, desperate for help. She found the first 2 houses empty and then spotted another across Thompson Lake. Despite her fear of water, developed after losing a friend to drowning, she plunged in, swimming as fast as she could. When she reached the other shore, she ran through a field toward the house she had seen. Almost paralyzed with fear upon spotting a car she thought belonged to her captors, she realized it was a different vehicle. As she sprinted, she caught the attention of Earl Melchert, a local farmer. Initially mistaking her for a deer, he soon recognized her distress. When she reached him, a breathless Jasmine identified herself. Melchert immediately called 911, staying with her until the authorities arrived. In a stroke of luck, as Jasmine was being transferred to a police vehicle, she saw her captor's car drive by. She alerted the officers, which led to a chase and the swift arrest of Stephen Powers, while Thomas Barker and Joshua Holby were captured soon after. Jasmine's return sparked overwhelming joy in her family and community, who had feared the worst. Her mother, Sarah, expressed relief and disbelief when detectives brought the good news, thinking they would receive terrible updates. Jasmine felt immense happiness upon reuniting with her mother and sisters, saying, "I thought I was never going to be able to see them again." The legal process that ensued was a mix of emotions for Jasmine's family. They found it hard to believe that someone they trusted could commit such a terrible act. Thomas Barker, the main offender, was given a 25-year prison sentence and will be labeled a violent offender for life. Joshua Holby got a 7-year sentence, and Stephen Powers received 8 years. Jasmine's family and community felt let down, believing these sentences didn't adequately match the seriousness of the crimes. The 29 days Jasmine spent in captivity caused her significant emotional and physical trauma. Sarah observed that her daughter would never fully recover, as Jasmine now deals with bipolar depression and is hesitant to go outside. Jasmine has been hospitalized several times, and her mother hopes she will connect more with friends to help her heal. Thankfully, Jasmine has begun specialized treatment for PTSD, using new therapies to manage her anxiety and nightmares. Today, Jasmine's story, filled with unimaginable pain, showcases the strength of the human spirit. She inspires others with her resilience as she works to rebuild her life and help those who have faced similar challenges. Her message that she is doing well reflects her determination and inner strength. Thank you for watching. If Jasmine's story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories of resilience and hope. Stay tuned for our next episode, and until then, take care.